Good afternoon. We're going to look to the particular prose piece that is an interview held by Harvard International Review with the child activist Licypriya Kanjugam. To start with, who is Licypriya Kanjugam? She's a child activist from Manipur, and she is one of the youngest child activists recognized globally. Started advocating against climate change in the year 2018, as she was not able to afford going to school because of her constant struggles towards achieving climate uh, change solutions. She dropped out of school. She also advocated the world leaders at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in the year 2019, and she is recognized for her advocacy for clean air initiative. So, what made her climate activist? So, every behind every person becoming an advocate, there might be a reason. For Licypriya, it's that she was a witness to major catastrophes that was happening at her. To start with, Cyclone Titli and Cyclone Fani that happened and strike Orissa in the year 2019 and 18. These incidents, though it affected places around her, it affected herself. So, as she states, all these events turned me into an outspoken child talking about the impact of climate change. Now we look into certain movements or certain roles that Licypriya played towards climate change. First initiative is that she started something called the Sea Child. So, and it is one of the youngest movement that advocates towards climate change, started by a child. So it was started in 2018, and some of the major objectives of climate child movement is that to control carbon emissions and greenhouse gases, provide climate justice to millions of people, poor, vulnerable people, and other marginalized communities who are victims of climate change, making climate education mandatory in school curriculum, and bring accountability and transparency to the government. How can all these things be achieved? Right? As she states, all these things can be achieved only through advocacy. So she states certain things that she has achieved through advocacy. One is that new air pollution laws in India, right? She was protesting in front of the parliament 2020, and she was detained by police in 2020, right? Though she was detained because of her persistence, the president of India signed and approved an ordinance to enact new air pollution laws with its headquarters in Delhi. Second thing that she advocates is that to bring climate change as a compulsory subject. Right? Okay, before we move on to that, okay, we should know the impact of her parliament protest in February 2nd, 2019. One is that, as we spoke before, to pass a strong climate change law in the parliament, which she achieved. Second is to make climate change education as a compulsory subject in every school curriculum. Okay, as she states that she has started achieving success in states like Rajasthan, Sikkim, and Gujarat. Okay, from being zero, now the okay, as she states, there are like 145,000 schools in India which has implemented climate change as a compulsory subject in their curriculum, and over 1,000 private schools have already started taking this initiative across various regions of India. The third initiative that she tries to implement is that to plant 1 lakh trees per year. Sorry, 1 million trees per year. As she states from her life, okay, she has planted over more than 3,50,000 trees in India in various places, right? By celebrating a movement called as Monday for Mother Nature, through which she invites various children from various schools to plant trees and to make the planet green again, which she intends to achieve, right? So, so there is another movement started by another child activist, which goes like Fridays for Fortune campaign, which was started by another child change activist. So these are certain things that she has achieved over the years as a child young advocate of climate change. Now, the second thing that we find in this interview is that the role of indigenous communities towards climate change. As she states, the indigenous communities are the first line of defenders. They play a crucial role in protecting the planet, right? They are not just the front covers but also the first line of defense. But the sad state is that many indigenous activists are in jail or even murdered because of the state, because fact that the government has given licenses to big foreign companies based in various different nations, um, to exploit the oil resources of the nation. And the worst scenario is that climate change or crisis is denied by the leaders as an immediate threat. As Licypriya states, both the climate change and indigenous rights movement are fighting for a common cause. And she states that climate change cannot be achieved without the help of the indigenous peoples as they form a close ally with nature. Okay, the next thing that she states is that okay, as next thing is that okay, when the interviewer asks her the question, climate change has no border. India is also equally responsible for global carbon emissions. She states that India, as any other nation, should be equally responsible. Not just India, but almost all the countries which include European Union, China, India, and other nations should form great allies by which they will reduce the greenhouse emissions and they should accept climate change as an urgent political issue. Everyone knows that India is experiencing adverse weather conditions, which are the result of climate change. And she states that India must take a leadership role in the shift to sustainable production and consumption to end this crisis and shift from a carbon-based economy to a green economy. And she appreciates the effort of Indian government. The major example that she cites is that International Solar Alliance, which was formed to further the global cooperation and collaboration to address climate change, and which includes right now 108 countries. And the thing is, Licypriya wants almost every countries to be part of it. And she states that as India starts working together with developed nations such as the US, right? And as these countries cut down their carbon gas emissions, and which can be carried out only through cooperation, including advanced green investment and investing more on solar and wind energies and cooperating more on forest policies, which will definitely help in climate resilience and developing cooperation on resilience mitigation, monitoring and assessment and achieving climate change. Another thing that she implements is something called as Suki Few, right? In other words, it's called as a survival kit for the future, right? Which is a project that she achieved along with Professor Chandan Ghosh of Indian Institute of Technology, Jammu, because of the fact that the air quality in Delhi has crossed measurable limits of air quality index 999, and because of which millions of people in Delhi are affected. So, uh, in order to bring back the air pollution level to its minimum, certain things that she wants to implement is that to stop bubble burning, to revive the Aravalli forest, to mark bicycle lanes in all roads of Delhi, to increase green spaces, and to permanently ban firecrackers in Delhi for the next 10 to 15 years. So again, as we see in the picture, it's one of the devices that she introduced in order to survive and sustain in the high air pollution level in Delhi. So as we spoke before, India, as any other country, is a major carbon emitter, and India should move on from a carbon emitting nation to a green economy and needs to see climate change as an urgent political issue, and they should invest more on alternate energy sources like solar energy and wind energy, and employing vehicles such as that runs more on electric than fossil powered fuels. Now, what is the final comment that she makes? The first thing is that the leaders, all the developed countries, should have the political willpower to cut down emissions and become a net zero carbon neutral country by 2035 or 2050. And developed countries should stand together with developing countries to achieve the Paris Climate Change Agreement before the deadline, that is, to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, preferably to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So thank you for listening to this. Bye.